You are not just another hustling salesperson. You are the expert, the resource, the valuable partner for your clients. And how you grow your business should reflect how your clients see you. Welcome to the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. We generate referrals without asking, build positive client experiences, and help you take control of your business. Here's your charmingly sarcastic host, Stacey Brown Randall.
Hey there, and welcome to episode 142 of the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Brown Randall. Hey, have you checked out our on-demand learning? Yeah, our on-demand training, we're just like Netflix. I mean, you can just binge whatever you're in the mood to binge, and you don't even have to wait for me to go live or invite you to a Zoom room. Nope, you just go straight to your computer. You go to staceybrownrandall.com/training, scroll down past our live training, and you'll see the on-demand section. In that on-demand section, there are always a few trainings that you can go ahead and just hit play on. That's right. Whether it's Tuesday at noon and you're eating lunch, or, it's like Thursday night at 2 a.m. and you can't sleep, you can binge watch some trainings that we have available on growing your business by referrals. And of course, that's referrals without asking. Would we have it any other way? Absolutely not. Just go to staceybrownrandall.com/training and hit play on your next training. Okay, I always say this, I think, when I have somebody coming on for an interview, that I'm always so excited to share these interviews with you guys. And I'll be honest, I love all the experts that I have on the podcast. I hand select them. As you guys know, this is mostly a solo show. It's mostly me teaching you guys all the things I need you to understand about how we grow our business from a referral perspective, from a goal setting perspective, and then, of course, from a client experience perspective. And it's mostly me, but I do bring on some guests, and they're all hand selected. I very rarely accept a pitch from somebody that would like to be on the show. Usually it's because, hey, I want to talk about this topic and I need an expert, and then I go hand select that person. And so I'm always excited for the experts that I have on the show. But I'll be honest, I get even more excited when I have the opportunity to talk to some of my Growth by Referral students, or of course, when we talk about Goal Finishers Club, to talk to my Goal Finisher Club members. But in this case, I just love having the opportunity to talk to my students and to hear exactly what their journey looked like. I get bits and pieces while they're in the GBR program, if they're participating in our student-only Facebook group, if they're sharing their wins, if they're asking questions. I can piece together some of the things, of course, that they are going through, particularly at the independent study level. And that actually has a lot to do with whether or not they are engaged in the Facebook group, so that I can actually pick up on what they're doing. And I very quickly learn about their businesses. And then I think that just allows me to give better suggestions and better advice. So I always love it, though, when I get to sit down and have like an uninterrupted conversation with them that isn't snapshots of comments and social media posts and email questions and little questions they ask here or there on trainings and things like that we may have. So it's always fun for me to sit with my students and just listen to them share how they took what I taught them and completely put it into practice and were completely rewarded for their hard work. And that's actually why I titled this episode on purpose. I titled this episode "When the Hard Work Pays Off," because, oh my goodness, you guys are about to hear from Jackie, and she's incredible, but she put in some work and she's going to share it with you. She's not going to hold back. She's going to share it with you what it looked like. You'll hear me kind of like giggle about these Venn diagrams she talks about, but she's going to share with you what it looked like. And then she's going to share with you how she was rewarded for the hard work. Because remember, I don't know who said this, maybe it was Vince Lombardi or somebody like that. The only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. So this wonderful success she's going to share, she's going to start off by sharing the work that went into it. So of course, you guys know this makes me super happy because I get to bring to you a real live GBR student, and they're going to talk to you about their experience going through this program that is my baby. I mean, the GBR program is my baby, and I built it, and I have remade this baby a couple of times, and all in the pursuit of making it the best program it can be to help people have the success they're ultimately looking for. And I love you guys having the opportunity to hear from somebody who's gone before you and exactly what that was like. So let me just not waste any more time so we can get to the interview with Jackie. But let me tell you about Jackie Ho. Jackie Ho and her husband row Ho and Lacey architectural firm in the Bay Area, and you're going to hear her talk about this, where in some cases the COVID has hit the hardest in certain areas. And the Bay Area has definitely been on the top of that list. I mean, I think California in general has definitely been at the top of that list. Jackie's going to share her experience with putting layer number 2, right? Which what we talked about last episode 141. She's going to talk about her experience with putting layer number 2 into practice. Guys, and it's so good. And what's really interesting about her sharing her journey is that it is not a linear path at all. Thanks, COVID. There's nothing linear about this. In fact, she talks about a big, long pause for months and months and months right after she joined the program because COVID was just starting. So she's going to break it all down for you. She does a much better job than I could. I'm so excited for you guys to hear from Jackie. She is incredible. Guys, I love all of my students. So if you ever become a student of the GBR program, just know that I love you and I am cheering loudly for you. And for all my existing GBR students, I love you and I am cheering loudly for you. But if you want to get to the top of my list of the GBR students that I just utterly adore, do the work. Do the work. And then share your success with me. Yes, some of you guys know who you are. You like buy programs. Maybe you're even in the GBR program and you haven't done anything with it yet. Life happens and that's okay. And this isn't a judgment zone from that perspective. But some of you, it's not because life is happening to you. It's because you're just not making the time. You're procrastinating. So again, I love all my GBR students, but those that do the work, take what I teach them and then do the work and then are rewarded for that. That's what I want for all of you. And that's what Jackie has. And I can't wait for you guys to listen in to her interview. So why don't I hush right now and let's go talk to Jackie.
I am Jackie Ho. My company is Ho and Lacey Architecture.
Wonderful. I am so excited for you and I to have this conversation. Now, we have been talking since, really since you joined the program last year, but as you joined for the referral plan build to get ready for 2021, of course, we got to see and hear from your results and talk about what you were doing. Of course, you sharing your results is what led us to get to this conversation today to record this for the podcast listeners. But I have had an opportunity to really just kind of see how you've taken what you've learned in the Growth by Referrals program and apply it within your architectural firm, but also apply it in the year of COVID. So we have so much good stuff to talk about. I'm super excited, but I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while. So Jackie, welcome to our show.
Well, thank you, Stacy. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this. Not only is it just such a treat to finally do something for you for once after all the support you've given me, but it means a lot to me to be able to give back to your community and hopefully I'll help some other small business owners out there who are hustling every day and trying to build their dreams.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so sweet. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So I thought the best way for us to frame this conversation, it's coming off of last week's episode, specifically as we were dealing with the layers of your referral strategy. And I started teaching this last year as kind of a new way. It's the same. I always tell folks it's the same information, but sometimes I get hit with like a major moment of what I call like a brilliant thought. And it's like, oh, wait, I could teach this differently and maybe it would help somebody else understand it. So I started talking about this last year. We've been talking about it since the beginning of this year for the podcast, of talking about your referral strategy and looking at it from a layering perspective, like the different layers to your referral strategy, not because you got to run out and do all the layers at one time and overwhelm yourself, but to just know if you want to build a really holistic strategy in your business, here's kind of the layers to think about. So we've already talked about the first layer, which is creating a way to take care of your existing referral sources, your current referral sources, the people who are or have been referring you most recently. And of course, how do we take care of them? What language do we use? And what does that referral plan look like? And then, of course, we had David come on. He talked about his experience going through that entire process. And then with last week's episode, we talked about the second layer of this strategy. And for a lot of people, this actually is the layer they start with. And for others, it's a layer they realize pretty quickly after layer number one, I'm going to need this layer two. And that is, hey, I need more referral sources. And we call that potential referral sources. So the second layer is all about the ability to identify and then cultivate people that you wish were referring you into actual referral sources. Now, of course, we teach both inside the Growth by Referrals program because both are necessary. And so when you think about when you joined the program, and this was January of 2020, When you think about when you joined the program, when was it for you that you determined your need for more referral sources? Was it because you had gone through module 2 and started to identify existing referral sources? So you're like, oh, I need some more. Was it all the things that happened at the beginning of the year with COVID that kind of led you to that decision? Like, what was it for you that led you to say, hey, I need to get serious about this second layer and develop more referral sources?
Yeah, happy to speak to all of that. So specifically to your question, I would say, so my story, just to give you a little background of how we went through COVID, is like you said, I joined in January, but then as I was making my way through the trainings, and the way I went about it was I just wanted to plow through and finish all the training, do that work up front so I could start implementing immediately. Of course, COVID hit and that put the brakes on everything, including our business had to suspend for a time being. So as the months went on in the summer, I started to finally be able to kind of come back and finish those trainings, continue to work through them, even though I didn't really have the bandwidth to implement yet. I went ahead and did all the trainings, which means while I was doing all that, I was simmering on so many things. I was simmering on all the training. I had already decided in that mix, okay, when I can finally carve out time to implement and kick this off, I'm going to be doing it all. I'm not only going to be implementing my plan to take care of my referral sources, I'm immediately going to enact a plan to identify potential referral sources and cultivate new referral sources, like you're saying. So I took a strategy when I finally did kick off in November. I went full blast on all cylinders. So that was kind of the way I approached it. I could identify pretty early on. I don't know which module off the top of my head, but pretty quickly I knew how many I had. I had 10 active referral sources, and it just was simple math. To get to where I'm going, I'm going to need more referral sources. Let's start this at the same time. And now I can safely tell you I kicked off in November. We are now in February. I mean, in that time frame, I've gained 10 new referral sources.
That's 4 months.
Yes.
It's always okay. So I just need to pause for a second and just say this, because there's somebody that needs to hear me repeat this and like beat the dead horse for just a minute. In most of the time when people come into the program, if they are like all in, they're all in and they're like, we're going to do it. It's going to be great. And then there are those that come into the program and their questions are like, well, how soon can I see success? And what exactly will it look like for me? And of course, Jackie, I can't answer that question. I don't know exactly how soon you'll see success. I do know if you do nothing, you won't see success, right? Like that one I'm pretty clear on, but the rest of it, I just can't guarantee how quickly something's going to happen. But you kicked off the process for yourself, for your business in November of 2020. Here it is at the time of this recording, not when this will air, but at the time of this recording, here we are in the early part of February, like mid-February. That's not even 4 months, right? I actually had to think in my head, wait, that's not 4 months, right? No, it is not 4 months. And you've already identified and then cultivated 10 new referral sources. And to be able to call them a referral source, that means they had to have given you their first referral. So to cultivate 10 new referral sources in like 3.5 months, that is incredible. And I just want to pause for a second for the person who needs to hear this be said. Yes, you can move quickly, but as Jackie has kind of already said, she dove in and she implemented and she got to work. So Jackie, I am so excited to hear about this success from you, but I also know it's because you did the work. So as much as I would love to take all the credit, no, you are the one that's doing the work. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, Stacey. Couldn't have done it without you, but yeah, it took work. And, just to expand on that a little bit, for me, identifying the potential referral sources, I kind of racked my brain and for 5 seconds and realized I really need a database to look at. I don't know how to cross-analyze this without a database. So for me, very type A, which I know you can relate to, Stacey.
No, no.
I went and gathered all our quote unquote Rolodexes, whether it was phone contacts here and there, all the devices. And I just did it. It took a chunk of time, but boy, am I glad I did it and I'm maintaining it, because if I couldn't see everything in one place to say, these are all the people I know, these are all the people in all our different circles and worlds and how they overlap in the Venn diagrams. Now I understand, it's very easy now to pick very quickly. These are the people I need to hit. Low hanging fruit, like you always say, right? I immediately started reaching out to the people who, already had a sense, like they knew I was launching a new business. They knew what I do for a living. They've known me well enough for a long enough time, and probably are in a place to be a center of influence or a potential client themselves, whatever it might be. And I just started reaching out to people. I mean, you've been preaching this for months, right? In COVID, you don't really need a lot of excuses anymore. Like people are just so happy to hear from you and just say, hey, how are you? Like that is all I had to do to start talking to some of these folks. And it kind of organically grew from there, coupled with the techniques and scripts that you've kind of just handed us in the program.
Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. And I love the fact that, okay, wait, I just got to ask this. Did you really actually like create the Venn diagrams?
I did.
You're so an architect. You are so an architect.
In some version, yeah. I mean, you should see this matrix I developed. But anyway.
Oh my gosh, you have to you got to take a picture of it and send it to me. I will not put it in the show notes because I'm not going to put your personal stuff out there for the world to see, but I am dying to see this. So you've got to send just a quick screenshot or a picture of that for me. That's hilarious. I love that you kind of like went all in. And you know what I really love about the fact that you went all in is that you were rewarded for it. And again, that's not the part that we can guarantee. But again, as you know, the strategy is pretty simple, and how I lay it out for you and the ability. And you're right, COVID did hand us a little bit, and I think it still continues for 2021. COVID did hand us an easier way to connect with people because we needed to be connecting because we had been for depending on where you are in the world. And then for those of you, of course, that are in the United States, depending on where you are in the United States, like some of you like never left your apartments or your houses, right? Like where I am on the East Coast, sometimes we act like it doesn't exist. But the reality of it is like we needed that connection point.
I couldn't agree more, Stacey. I mean, all those months we were in COVID and in uncertainty, and we knew we had to not be operating the business the way we wanted to be. I simmered on so many things you're talking about, including, I do what I do because I believe the home is where we are our most vulnerable and where we are our most authentic selves. And every person needs something different to feel safe in their own homes and to connect to their best selves. And it's just more important now than ever, where we are spending an unprecedented amount of time at home. And most homes are not set up to help everyone's needs in a household. And so these are all the things in my mind as I was going through it myself and my family, as you were going through it, as all of us have been going through it. How am I going to be ready to step to the plate when, we have enough bandwidth to really implement this program, turn the fire hose on, bring it on. And now I can focus on doing all the things I want to be doing in my business, where, 2 years ago, I was wondering, how am I going to get enough interest to be able to do the things I want to do with the business? Now I'm in that place. Now I'm finally able to kind of put my money where my mouth is, so to speak, right? And act on all those things I've been thinking about for all that time.
I love it. I love it. Sometimes we don't take an action or we don't have a behavior unless we first made that mental commitment and that emotional commitment to it. So I love that, whether it was COVID forcing you to make the commitment or not, whatever it was, I'm thankful that it made you make the commitment, because we're going to talk about your success. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but we're going to dig into your numbers a little bit more in just a moment. And you've certainly deserved it. But I'm just curious if you, and you may not remember this specifically the way I'm going to ask it, but I think it would be really valuable for someone who's sitting there listening to this interview right now, and they're saying to themselves, okay, I need referrals, right? I know I probably don't have as many referral sources as I need. I'm going to have to develop new referral sources. I'm going to have to develop potential referral sources. And they're just starting the process of identifying who those people would even be. So like before we even talk about cultivation, right? This is just the identification of who these potential new referral sources could be. Do you remember what your experience was like? I mean, as sure as you were collecting all the Rolodexes and kind of pulling it all together, do you remember the moment where the light bulb hit and you were like, wait, this is actually easier than I think it is?
Yes. When I could look at it in front of me and I had coded people by, to use your language, is someone a COI, a center of influence? Are they a client who is not yet a referral source? Are they a this and a that? I kind of gave everyone a tag. And once I could identify what buckets people fell into, then I could say, okay, well, knowing historically my best referrals come from this type of person, I'm going to focus my energy there first.
It's perfect. I mean, that it really is that simple.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But to your point, you first had to do the tagging, right? Or the identifying by category of who these people are. And then, guys, I'm just going to repeat this because Jackie hit the nail on the head here. And then she thought historically of who are her best types of referral sources. And she then focused in and honed in that place.
Exactly.
And that is a great, great place to start. Okay. So I'm sure people are like, tell us more about your numbers. Tell us more about your success. We know that you had from November through middle of February, you have turned 10 people into referral sources, giving you a referral. But talk us through a little bit more about your success. Talk us about your numbers that you've had since you kicked off in November.
Okay, just for context, you know that when I started the program, my 2019 numbers were, we only had 5 referrals total for all of 2019, right? Well before COVID was an issue. And then the time frame from which I kicked off in November till now, I've been averaging 3 new referrals every week. So that's 22 new referrals we've received since November.
Wait. What's that number?
22.
22 referrals received, approximately 3 a week since November.
Yes.
Oh my, Jackie, do you sometimes like have that moment of pinch myself?
Oh yeah. My husband high fives me all the time. Like another one comes in, he just gives me a high five. It's great.
That is awesome. So I guess okay. So let me ask you this question. You're not anticipating this, and I'm sure your husband will listen to this episode and be like, why did she ask you that question? But at any point when you were making the decision to invest the money in the Growth by Referrals program, was there any conversation where he was like, I don't know if we need that? Or was he like all on board from the very beginning?
I didn't even give him the option. I just executed.
I love it.
I made the decision. It happened.
Okay. So we don't have to worry about him being like, I don't know. Like we don't have to go back and be, I told you so.
No, because I knew if that conversation ever came up later, the proof would already be there.
Right. That's awesome. I love it. Okay. So basically in 3.5 months, averaging about 3 new referrals a week. And that means you around 22 referrals total. That's right. Because, when we talked in December, when you were part of the Inner Circle, the 2021 referral plan build workshop, I think it was like you had just tripled your numbers. Now you've more than quadrupled them.
Oh, yeah. It's a high.
It is such and the good kind of high, right? Like,
yes.
The not legal in all states, but right, not that kind of high, but the other kind of high. Okay, that is so awesome. So I am loving those numbers. So you're not, I don't know if you're prepared to answer this question, and it's okay if you're not, but it just kind of came to mind. And I'm sure this is, some people have got to be thinking this. I know I am. With those 22 referrals received in the last 3.5 months, at this point, because I'm sure some of these are still in your hopper from that perspective, what are you seeing as your ability to close or turn these people into yes clients from these that have been referred to you?
That's a very good question. And I don't have a complete answer just because historically it does take us anywhere from 4 weeks to, it can be sometimes a year before someone closes. And we're still just kind of slowly cultivating that relationship. But so far, my numbers have shown me that my conversion rate has stayed consistent with the past. So I'm at about 30% conversion of new referrals. About a third of those turn into clients.
Perfect. And then meaning the ones that you've gotten over the last couple of weeks, it's not even fair to count those because you haven't even had long enough with them in your pipeline. If the average referral can not even begin until the 4-week mark. So I would say, I would expect, and I would certainly want to see your close ratio increase. Again, for those of you who know exactly what Jackie does, and if any of our Growth by Referral students are listening, they heard me talk about Jackie before. She had asked a question last year that I answered on the podcast, and then I got into our GBR student only Facebook group and continued to answer that question even in more detail for her and give more ideas for other folks. And so some folks know what she does, but being an architect in San Francisco, and then you told me a little bit about the crazy zoning rules and laws and policies that you guys have to follow. I mean, this is a very long process for when you even start a project for when someone says yes. So funneling that or building that pipeline now is so very key, not just to your 2021 success, but I would say, would you also say your 2022 success?
And beyond, quite honestly, some of these projects, as you're saying, once we finally have someone committed and have outlined the process for them, we can be in it for years. right now I'm trying to start construction on a project, hopefully later this spring, that the clients first started working with us in 2018, early 2018. And we are just now trying to start construction.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's not every case, but that definitely gives you an idea. I'm investing now in clients I'm going to be with for years down the road.
Yeah. Okay. So you say that, and all I hear is don't move to San Francisco.
You know what? The Bay Area is a big place and there's a lot going on. San Francisco is just one piece of it.
That is, you're so right. You're so right. Because you work in the entire Bay Area. Okay. That's right. That's right. Okay. So looking at the success, looking at the work you've put in that led, of course, to the success that you're having and this great, crazy success that you're having. You say you already have like those pinch me moments and the high five moments when a new referral comes in, which is just fantastic. When you look back to what business looked like in 2018, 2019, what would you say is like the biggest shift for you, whether that's mentally, emotionally, just how the business looks and feels? What's been one of the biggest shifts you've seen your business go through now that it's growing? Excuse me, now that it's starting to grow more and more?
I would say that I think of it as what has this referral explosion and this implemented strategy working? What has that meant for our business? It has meant that I can actually focus on doing my job well and continuing to do it better and better. And for me, that looks like really honing our communication first and foremost for everything. I mean, it's actually key, of course, to this program to begin with. It works because you hand us the tools that are so dependent on language and wording, and you give us the tools to just go out there and start. So as long as we do the work, we have the tools with your program. And then over time, it's allowed me to customize and really tailor it to my voice. What feels authentic for me in our business? What am I trying to add on in terms of layers of my own, to the conversation that we might be having, right? You give us a fantastic starting point, and I've really enjoyed being able to take it to that next level for myself. Now, now that I have this many people coming in, do I want to increase my close rate? Certainly I want to increase my close rate, but to that point also, the benefit to what I've been able to do is I have had so much practice, Stacey, in the recent weeks, talking to so many new prospects and meeting with them and so forth, that I've gotten really good at those conversations. I can anticipate the questions before they come. I can anticipate my prospects' needs. I can really I can read the confusion on their face, right? I can help alleviate and demystify the process for them so much quicker. And I'm just more effective at what I do. I'm hearing the feedback from people that they're just so appreciative. And so I know I'm doing the right thing. And, it's also helping me to get to yes faster. It's also helping me to get to no faster, which is just as valuable. If I can close a conversation in 4 weeks and say, that was a clear no, because we know on both sides, it just wasn't the right fit. That's just as valuable for me,
Yes. There's nothing worse than feeling like you're kind of going around and around in a merry-go-round, just wishing someone would please get off first.
Exactly.
Right. That is fantastic. That is awesome. And so this is a total aside, more so for you than it is for the audience listening, but have you gone through the lessons in the rest of module 6 where we talk about the script, the 2 critical questions you want to make sure you're asking any prospect that's been referred to you?
Oh boy, you're testing me now.
I know. So here's the thing. I will take you off the test mode. Don't worry. Just saying, one of the things that I have found with people who are trying to increase their their closing ratio of the referred prospects that come in, that script, and I think it's module 6.2 or 6.3, to be honest. I can't remember, those 2 run together, but it is the exact questions I would want you asking those referral sources when you first meet with them. And I just want you to insert them into this entire process that you've now created, because you're getting so much better at the sales conversation. Mm-hmm. Just make sure you've got that tool in your toolbox as well, of those 2 questions that we talk about in module 6.
I think I just remembered the ones you're talking about. And yes, I have been working on that more recently.
Perfect.
It's newer to the game plan, but yes, I am working on that.
Perfect. Excellent. All right. That's awesome. Okay. Sorry. That was an aside. All right. So thank you so much for spending time talking to me about the success that you're having and I really love how you have framed this as, and it's the one thing I try to be really clear on with people is that, and you said it perfectly, right? That you're given the tools, You just have to do the work. And there is work involved. And that's okay that there is work involved. It's important to do the work. Obviously, it's important to get the results. I'm so pleased. I'm so proud of all the success that you have. I love it when my students come into the program and then I sometimes tell my husband, I'm like, when they just do what I say, right? when they just go through it and do what I say and trust the process. And then they get to have this great success. It is so fun. It's like I'm there with you doing a happy dance, giving you guys high fives. I'm so proud. I would love to just kind of ask you in closing, if there's anything you would say to an audience member right now that's sitting there, whether that's they're outside walking right now, they're listening to this in their cars, they're commuting down their driveway to their detached office like mine is, and they're listening to this episode. Is there anything you would say to that business owner that's thinking about joining the Growth by Referrals program? What would you say to them?
I have two things in mind. One is from my own experience. I was listening to your podcast for I don't know how many months before I finally took the plunge. And I was trying to piece together between your website and your podcast and the other shows you would be on. And I'm going to crib this together for free and figure it out. And I just got as far as I could. And I was like, there's no way I can take this the rest of the way. There are some magic beans on the other side of the paywall that I just have to cross over. And I've never looked back. So if you're someone in that position, just don't even hesitate. Just do it, because everything you're looking to unleash it's all there. You will not be disappointed because it just gives you the resources you've probably been looking for. I don't have to spend time and energy now worrying about what is the plan for getting more work. I know what the plan is. I'm seeing the plan happen. Now I get to focus on, all right, how do I implement the plan? How do I handle the pipeline we have? How do I make sure my clients are taken care of? Blah, 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 blah. All the things I want to be spending my energy on, rather than the big question of how are we going to have enough work to keep this going? And then the second thing that comes to mind is, as I've been doing this more and more and talking to my referral sources more and more and getting some more feedback from them on, I always like to ask people, why is it that you have been referring us? Like, what is it about us that makes us referable for you? And some of them have been really candid. And what I realized once I started this process was there were so many people in my network that had me in mind, knew what I did have circumstances where they wanted to refer me, but they hesitated. And they hesitated because they had some version of this question in their mind. Oh, I'm thinking of Jackie for this. I don't know if she's looking for referrals, or I don't know if this is up her alley, or I don't know if this is her geographical area. I better not. And so what the program is really, for me, connected the dots for all those people is to confirm with them, oh, this is what she does. This is how she does it. She is absolutely looking for referrals. She wants them. She thrives on them. I have no hesitancy now. Like, when that opportunity comes to them, they don't hesitate. They just don't hesitate. And that is priceless.
And don't you think it's amazing that you got them to that place of recognizing that you thrive on referrals and you want referrals without having to ask them for those referrals or beg them for those referrals or be really promotional and gimmicky in your language to them? You could just be normal and be thankful and invest in them. And then the referrals showed up.
Exactly. Which is why, once I saw the name of your podcast, I was hooked. Just because it's right there in the name, referrals without asking. I'm an introvert. I don't like asking anyone for help. It's a challenge for me in general. And it seemed like, okay, this is someone who's speaking my language.
That is awesome. Thank you, Jackie, so much for coming on and sharing your thoughts today. It was so valuable for me, but I know it's so valuable for our listeners, and I really appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you too. And it means so much to me just to be a part of this, like I said. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, I told you guys that was so good. Isn't she incredible? And I love how she kind of lays everything out for you. And, she talks about how she visualized everything and how she kind of made everything work for her. She took what I taught and she made it work for her. And I love that. And I love how she says, right? You're getting the tools. Just got to put the tools into practice. So that is amazing. I did want to clarify for you guys, if you're thinking through, you listened to David's interview in episode 139, how he built layer number 1 within his company, within his business for his existing referral sources after going through the GBR program. And then now you just listened to Jackie talk about in this episode what it was like building out layer number 2 using the Growth by Referrals program as well. I thought it would be interesting if I just clarified for you the levels that they were at. So David is actually a VIP. So if you've ever looked at the Growth by Referrals program, it comes in levels. There's independent study and there's VIP. Independent study is mostly the online version with a great community and the opportunity to network within that community, have access to me, upload your work, get my approval. It really is my approval. I literally hit the approve button once I review what you've done, give you feedback if I think you need to make changes. And it is an all-encompassing, like independent study level, get what you need, but you got to do it yourself. VIP is actually working with me for a year and getting a little bit more hand-holding. And both levels are amazing. And both levels will get you success. And so I just wanted to clarify that because I do get people from time to time that'll work out and be like, I really want to do VIP and work with you. I'm just worried I won't get everything I need from the independent study level. And I'm always like, oh, never fear. Yes, you will. If you will do the work, both programs are built to give you exactly what you need. You just got to decide that you're willing to do the work. And so I don't know if I mentioned this when we interviewed David, but David did come in at the VIP level. And Jackie, she came in at the independent study level, and look at the success they both had, both at different levels. So I'm so proud of them. I'm so excited I could share this with you guys because I think it's important for you guys to have a real world perspective of a business owner who came before you, did what I teach, listened to me, and did what I taught them, and then of course had the success. I would love for you guys to share your thoughts on this episode. And I'm sure that Jackie would love to hear from you guys as well inside our Referrals Without Asking Facebook group. She's in that group. She's been in that group since she actually, I guess, came into the first challenge she did back in January before she joined the program. So she's in that group. We'll definitely tag her when we post about this episode as well. But if you got any questions for her, please ask away. And again, of course, all the resources we mentioned for this episode are located on the show notes page at stacybrownrandall.com/142. And I got a favor to ask. My favor is this. If you haven't yet quite left a rating or review on this podcast, would you mind doing that? There's some crazy statistic out there that says like 2% of all the podcasts have more than like 20 ratings. And I'm well past that, which is awesome. But I'm not quite where I would love to be in terms of other people being able to find this podcast. And that, of course, means, and it is really dependent on the ratings and reviews that this podcast has. Now, of course, when you tell someone, go listen to this episode, that shares my podcast, right? Which is amazing. And I love that. But for someone searching for this podcast, we really want to make sure that they have an opportunity to know that this is a great podcast for them to listen to. And so they're able to find it easier with the more ratings and reviews we have. So if you do love this podcast, would you hop over to your favorite podcast listening app? Doesn't matter to me which one it is, but would you leave some ratings and reviews for us? I mean, obviously, I think the most popular is iTunes, but they're all amazing. And we're on all the platforms. Like, I believe my podcast goes out to like 16 channels or something like distribution channels. I don't know. That's what my podcast editor was telling me. But if you could go in and do a rating and review, that would be awesome. I mean, obviously, I would like a 5-star rating and a very, very positive written review. But obviously, above all else, I want you to be honest. Okay, next week, guys, it's episode number 143. And we are talking about a topic that bears repeating. Do you hear a soapbox coming? I do. Okay, my friends. Until then, take control and grow your business. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. To access all resources and links mentioned in today's show and to connect with Stacy, head over to www.stacybrownrandall.com.